Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Business Bubble podcast. This is James Opare, and this is another episode where we interview founders on their journey and how they are operating their startups currently. With me, we have Abubakar Sanusi, and I will let him introduce himself. Abubakar, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello. Good afternoon. Nice to meet you, Jamie. It's Abdul Sanusi. I am a creative industry entrepreneur, co-founder, and the chief technology officer of Jopiter. Jopiter is a fashion tech startup, uh, actually an Israeli backed company but operating in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm also the creative director for Divine Design Studio, another creative startup based in Columbus, Georgia, in the United States. That is everything about me so far.
Let me get this straight. Are you a co-founder? I know you're the CTO, but are you a co-founder?
Yeah, I'm the co-founder and I'm the executive chair.
Who brought the idea actually between you and the CEO?
Yeah, so it was my idea. I was the one that hired everyone. I was the one that brought everyone on board, like from my partner who is co-founder to the CEO and the CEO and everyone literally. So I brought them all in.
So why did you take the position as the CTO instead of the
Yeah,
CEO?
a lot of startups do make a huge mistake when it comes to building a company. Okay, like a startup, for example. Founders do believe that because they are the founders, so they get to become the CEO and the CFO and all these, C-level, what do you call it, positions, right? These C-level positions, which is not a problem, but the title CEO actually is a very important role, and not all founders can be CEO,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
CEO, every CEO can be a founder, but not all founders can be CEO. So, for example, in my case, I won't put myself to be a strategic business decision maker. So instead, I would rather put myself in a role I can, play and carry the technical parts. That's technology. So me being the chief technology officer is the most smart and the wisest thing to do.
That is a very good thing that a lot of founders don't possess to kind of like take a step down and give it to someone that should actually run the company better. But basically, what inspired you to start your fashion tech company? What was the inspiration behind
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Um, it all started when that was until 2020, 21. That was during COVID, right? And we all saw how social media was booming. And that was, I mean, it was COVID. So everyone was at home, and people were, more interested in socializing, of course, digitally, since there was this global lockdown. People don't afford to go out, so there was all these virtual, engagements. So post COVID, um, of course, I mean, before the end of COVID, there was this idea of digital fashion popping up. And the idea of digital fashion was actually brought up by gamers, those who design games, game designers, yeah. So they were like, okay, I mean, that is their job after all. They design avatars and the clothing, but it did not take it a little bit further. So it was not like you had game developers, designers designing digital avatars, putting them in digital fashion runway events, And so the idea of digital fashion was actually uh, pushed during the COVID time. So post COVID, everyone wanted to catch up with that trend because it is a trend. Um, Now, me coming to Nigeria in 2022, I mean, I always had the idea and the ambition that I want to build a startup, and I was like, okay, what startup would I actually venture into? Is it going to be fintech, which is, I mean, overpopulated? Is it edutech, also overpopulated? Is it health tech, which is overpopulated? So all these industries are overpopulated. So I found one industry that is huge, that has a lot of money, that has a market value of about 12 trillion at that time. 2022, and that was the fashion industry. And I thought, you know what? Let me venture into fashion tech. Now I know there's digital fashion, which we actually started with, but fashion tech is a different concept entirely. So that was how we got started in the first place. And also, I couldn't do it by myself. I needed to bring someone that has knowledge of fashion, like traditional fashion, as we call it. And that was where I brought in my co-founder, a female. Her name is Oinda Olumodeji. So she has been in the fashion industry for 7 years, 7 years experience. Used to be a stylist for Davido, Tiwa Savage, Falz, and all these some of these big guys in the entertainment industry. So it was easy for me to bring her in as a partner because in the end of the day, it was a startup. So self-funding was critical, and she was the one that was committed. So and today we are where we are now.
Yeah, that is very interesting. You said you came in Nigeria in 2022, is that right?
Yes,
Where
2022.
were you
Yes.
before that? Where were you before that?
So I was born in Germany. I was born in Germany. I left Germany when I was 4 years old. Myself and my siblings, I come from a home whereby, it's divided. Yeah. So left our father, went to Saudi Arabia, and we lived in Saudi Arabia all the time. Like we lived in Saudi Arabia for that long. Then I did come to Nigeria because it was very important that we learn about our culture, who our extended family members are, and we came to Nigeria. That was 2005, and we stayed in Nigeria till 2010. That was 5 years exactly. So every holidays we used to go to Saudi Arabia back to our dad. But ever since 2010, we never came back. So I was in Saudi Arabia till 2022, and that was when I had to come back because my dad was a retired professor. So just wanted to come home. But you know what? Let me come home, see the weather here, see how things are going. And I just thought, I think it's high time I just stayed at home, focus on, building something here for myself. And I know a lot of people were telling me at the time that, ooh, the economy is bad and you cannot survive and this and that. But guess what? I am here now. So I'm really well nailing it.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I kind of like want to know like what is the core mission of your brand? Like what is the core mission of Jupiter? And how do you guys seek to evolve over time?
So we come in with the idea of being first of all, Jupiter is a tech company. Like the first thing we need to know is a tech company before a fashion company, right? So the idea is we're trying to play a role in everything and anything that has to do with fashion tech or digital fashion. So Jupiter Inc., which is the parent company, is a tech company, right? You can also call it a social media company because we have our product that's going to launch very soon, which is like the Instagram but for fashion only. So you are a fashion designer, you're a fashion model, you're a fashion influencer, merchant, whatever it is, as long as they're within this fashion space, you get to use our platform to engage, to upload content, and to sell your products on the platform. So it's like Instagram, but only for fashion. So that is a product that we are building within our company, right? But then we also have the creative division called Jupiter Studios. And Jupiter Studios is in charge of the digital fashion designs, fashion runway exhibitions, except we don't use physical or real characters like real models, real human beings. We use digital wares designed, dressed by digital avatars, and they will be exhibited on screen. And the first time we implemented that idea, or the first time we tested it in real life, was during the Lagos Fashion Runway, Lagos Fashion Week. Lagos Fashion Week, that was in 2023. We exhibited our digital fashion exhibition. And then ever since then, we have attended a series of events whereby we showcase our digital fashion collections, also our digital art collections too. So we are playing a huge role when it comes to the idea of fashion. Our first exhibition was at the Lagos Fashion Week 2023. Ever since then, we exhibit in a series of events. So we exhibit our digital fashion collections. We also exhibit our digital art collections also. So at this point, Jupiter is actually known to be the leading, I would say, entity in terms of digital fashion or fashion tech. And this was actually, I mean, I couldn't say this with, full chest. But then, if you Google, for example, if anyone Googles digital fashion in Africa right now, digital fashion Africa, like the SEO puts Jupiter on the first, like it's yeah. So I mean, and we earned it, to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's how we are moving forward. Yeah.
So I think that is interesting because there's actually a race with artificial intelligence to kind of like replace the human workforce and kind of like replace them with some sort of AI workforce. So I think on your side, you're replacing the model, like the models on the runway, and replacing them with digital avatars. So that means yeah, you guys are not spending money on any model. I mean, on the contrary, you guys could
Exactly.
have spent money, right? So I guess that is
Yeah.
where the
Yeah.
world is evolving right now. So
Hmm.
I mean, talking about your challenges and the hurdles, what are the biggest hurdles you are facing currently in the launch of your company so far?
So our biggest challenge right now is the idea of building a product, and especially if you're an early stage startup, pre-revenue, right? You don't have the money, you are kind of bootstrapping, right? That is also known as self-funding. So that is usually the main issue for startups generally, because you get to pay for this fee and pay for that fee and subscribe to this one, and it's all in dollars. So when you convert the rate to the Nigerian naira, which is the local currency, you get to see it's a lot of money that you could have done, that you could have used to do so many things, but now you have to put it into this thing you're trying to build. And those are the sacrifices that we are being committed to. But the good thing is, right now, as I mentioned, the app is coming out very soon. We are launching our app very soon, and I would say it's totally worth it. But then, apart from that, also there are so many things that we need to, finance, which is not easy on our part because,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I want to get something straight. Like, what is the most surprising lesson you've learned as a founder in the space of when you're trying to build Jupiter?
Oh, that would definitely be always consult, do your research before you venture into anything. Because if you do not consult people and you do not do your research, you might just venture into something. And in the end of the day, in the middle of it, you find out you're in the wrong place, right? And this thing happens a lot because a lot of people think, oh, I'm trying to build this product. It's savvy, it makes a lot of sense, it sounds this cool idea. But is it market fit? You have no idea. You don't know if it's market fit or not. And a lot of founders make these mistakes. And that's why, there are these cohorts out there whereby people go into like Techstars or Y Combinator and all these accelerators and incubators. And the reason is because they are actually meant to train startup founders how to go about making businesses, how to go about pursuing the idea of building a startup, right? So the thing is, people make this mistake a lot of times when they try to presume that, okay, I'm building this product for this reason. But that is what you are thinking. You don't know whether the market is in favor of what they're trying to do. You don't know if the people you are trying to reach out to, the people you are trying to help, actually see your idea as something valuable. It might be interesting, but that doesn't it's needed at this point. So doing your research and seeking consultancy is very important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. At the beginning of our conversation, right, you said you're an Israeli-backed startup. I want to ask, how was your experience raising capital for a fashion tech startup in Africa? Like, how was your experience like?
So I will be honest with you, there are details that I might not be able to venture into because
I
yeah.
understand. Sure.
Yeah. But so there is a program called IFA Israel Abuja. It is an Israeli incubator accelerator sponsored by the Israeli government in Nigeria, in Abuja. So annually, people do apply to join the program and showcase their products, right? But usually it's hardware products that they supervise, but when we joined the program in 2020, end of 2022, we the idea of let me see the product idea we're trying to build at the time was different. We were trying to say, okay, we're designing a platform that can be used to design clothing, African clothing to be specific. Similar products are like Flow 3D, Style 3D, Cinema 4D, Maya. These are software tools that we use for this fashion designs, right? But we were trying to say, okay, we were trying to build a similar platform that's going to be specifically for African garments. And that was why I went into the program. And we joined the program and we did our thing. But along the line, we got a lot of consultants. I mean, let me say, consultations. And that was when we knew that, okay, this idea is superb, but the product is not market fit. So, but still, we finished the program and then we had to change the idea of product out in the market, right? And at that point, we met an Israeli tech advisor who came to Nigeria at the time. His name is Thomas Cohen. So he was the one that, guided us into how to come up with a new idea, a new product that can actually disrupt the fashion industry. And in fact, he even gave us more than we needed. So it wasn't about fashion only. It was about a whole lot more. Fashion, data, like getting information
Right.
in retail, yes, in the markets, bigger than just designing. So, and that's because Israel is well known as one of the countries globally that have sophisticated technologies. So, partnering with an Israeli company was more our favor because a lot of startups in Africa, usually when you want to partner with a foreign company in terms of IT tech, usually partner with Indian companies, which is a good thing, by the way. Americans are expensive, the Europeans are expensive, but India are cheap to afford, then Chinese, but Israel are super expensive. So I guess that's our first one.
Yeah, interesting. Um, Talking about investors, like generally speaking, like what do you think investors often misunderstand about fashion tech in Africa? Like, what do you think they really do misunderstand?
So this is something I actually had to figure out on my own, and that was because I was getting myself involved with all these VC networking, like venture capital events. Um, and the reason why I joined was because I wanted to understand what investors are thinking about the fashion industry. Now, the fashion industry it's not a tech oriented industry. It's a traditional industry, right? That's what we call it traditional fashion. So unlike fintech, edutech, health tech, logitech, and all these other tech startups that investors are pouring money into, we are tech oriented. Fashion is not the same. So when you approach an investor and say we're trying to build something related to fashion, they'll be like, oh yeah, sustainability, because sustainability is the only, I'll say tech infused into fashion. So usually they'll be like, okay, what you need is grants. We can give you grants, a couple millions, a couple $1,000, something like that. The idea of fashion tech is not something that is well known. So when you go to an investor and say, oh, I'm building a fashion tech startup right now and I want you to give me money, they'll be like, fashion? How does fashion, they will look at fashion from their own point of view. So now especially we that are already in this niche and this industry, we have to convince them that fashion is not just about designing clothing or fabrics or sewing machines. It's bigger than that. This is about selling clothing and fashion. I mean, a retail store, it's actually bigger, way bigger than that. And we have to convince them. Now they might agree with us or not, that's up to them, but we have to make our argument highly compelling.
Yeah, interesting. So what advice would you give other founders trying to raise VC fund in the same space you are, like in the same fashion space you are? What advice would you give them?
Well, I would say, first of all, before you actually approach an investor, always build a product first of all. Don't approach an investor without building a product. And then number two, if you want to build a product, that be a product that is actually market fit. If it's not market fit, I don't think we're living in a realistic world, right? In the realistic world, you cannot expect money from an investor or from anybody without having to ensure them that there's going to be a return on investment. Even if they're going to give you money in terms of equity, you need to give them a reason why investing in a company in the first place make a lot of sense, or why it's actually something they should do, right? And the fashion industry, as I said, it's a traditional industry. To infuse technology into that industry, we have to come up with something highly compelling, not copying what other fashion textiles are doing and saying what to do the Nigerian version or the African version. No, you want to do something different, something highly competitive, something that will work. People say, okay, you know what? I will leave this platform, join your platform. I will leave. I will, like, yeah. So want people to actually believe what you're trying to do, right? And the only way to do it is build a product that makes sense. So as a founder, fashion tech space, you might want to build a product that's actually going to resonate with the people, that is market fits in a short, what do you call it, in a nutshell. I will just use that word, market fits. So, and then you move from there.
Yeah, interesting. Talking about your startup, basically, what is next for your startup in the next 3 to 5 years? Like, how do you see your startup growing in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So, the next, yeah, well, expansion is definitely one of the most important things. We need to expand our startup, right? Expand our operation. I mean, uh, of course, that comes with securing funding. When you have funding, you have the ability to, expand, hire team from overseas, join certain ventures overseas, I mean, internationally, and that gives you the opportunity to expand beyond your border, right? So it's key for us to actually, first of all, one of our main, I would say, main agenda is in the coming future, we will have to reincorporate our company under the US, US law, which is Delaware, like Delaware Corporation, for example. We incorporate our company under the United States, and from there we can expand to different places. One of the countries that we're going to expand our company towards is Israel, because they are our, our tech partners, and we want to have, so to make sense to have a region, to have a regional branch in Nigeria, which represents Africa, the United States, which is going to be the main headquarters, for example, and represents Europe. And then we have one in East Asia, which is going to be Israel. And from there, we can then, the rest would be like partnering with different companies, whether it's in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, North America, something like that. So expansion is definitely what that's like. That is
Yeah,
what we're looking at in the future. And of course, along the expansion is integrating our products, making it more enhanced, more efficient, more competitive, very more capital, grow bigger.
interesting. Um, I think this is two of the last. I have two more questions to ask. So, so the next question is,
Okay.
where do you see the African fashion tech evolving in the next decade, for example? Where do you see the African fashion? Because the African fashion tech has a lot of potential, right? We, like a lot of people like our fashion here, and I think it has market scale to actually reach a lot of people. So how do you think we could expand and we could evolve in the next decade?
Well, I'm going to be very honest with you. We have a long way to go. Okay, we have a long way to go because as much as fashion tech is hype in Africa, for example, not everyone has the tools to use, to actually create digital fashion collection or digital fashion runway events. The tools required are not that cheap. So we're talking about educating people how to actually use the tools. Then, I mean, supporting people to actually have the money to use the tools. So those are two different things. And as long as things are going right now, with situation of people not be able to afford certain things, we will just be, perhaps we might even rely on AI at this point. But AI doesn't give us everything, right? But I also see that in Africa, for example, Nigeria to be specific, a lot of people are actually adopting the use of AI for fashion, which is a good thing. So the advanced level, the next advanced level is 3D fashion. And that is the one that we are struggling at this point. But it might take a while before we get there. But eventually, yeah, from AI to 3D fashion to AR, that is augmented reality, and maybe mixed reality too, So we're getting there, but it's going to take a while, and it's going to. I
Yeah,
mean, one needs to sacrifice a
definitely.
lot to get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Last question. What do you think you wish more people knew about the African fashion industry? Like, what do you think you wish people knew more about the African fashion industry?
Well, the African fashion industry is actually a huge part of the fashion industry globally. Africa alone makes what? Is it 30%? I'm sorry, 30 billion in market value, which Nigeria makes 50% of that. That's half of it. So, and a lot of people, I mean, something that people are also noticing that the fashion style, the fashion, fashion creativity in Africa is being used in other places. Like a lot of people, fashion designers in whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Asia, they take African, fashion, ideas and implement it in their own fabrics. So it's not that our fashion is unknown. No, it is highly popular. But the issue that we have is how to market it the right, how to push it out there the right way. Like right now, the Westerns, I mean, they push their own fashion designs way beyond, like they're in fact flooding our own, continent or our own countries, and yet we are struggling to flood our own fashion. That's because we are, you know, another thing is collaboration. So imagine two big fashion companies, like two big Nigerian fashion companies, joining hands together, pushing their own fashion styles across Europe and Asia, right? I mean, that's something to do with the money they have, the resources. But nowadays, people are like, oh, I want to compete in this level. I want to be the one here. I want to be the one. I want to be the one that's well known. I want to be. So we are more divided. Unlike the Westerns, they are not divided. When they have a common goal to pushing their own fashion beyond their own continent, they partner together and they just make it happen, right? So one thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the world knows the value of our own fashion designs, our fabrics, our cultural designs, our own patterns, our own. So all that. I personally am not a fashion person because I'm a tech person, but I'm forced to know a little thing about fashion, too, because
Yeah,
I'm in within the niche. But yeah, so that's just yeah,
yeah,
basically that's it.
definitely. Yeah. Um, so I think we're kind of like done, but before going, I kind of like want to ask you, what is your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
Mm, honestly, I like visiting fancy places. Like I like going to fancy places. I like going to places like Mother Nature. You know what it is to see, what it is. Just like open places, a lot of trees, or high places like uh, high buildings, like tall buildings, whereby you can look and see like cars and people walking. I do a little bit of sport, not really that much, but I do a little bit of sports. And networking is one huge thing I like doing also. I'm going to events, whether it's fashion events, tech events. I love networking because we all want to become successful. We all want to make money. We all want to, and one way to do it is when you are networking with people, you find opportunities in these networkings, and that's what actually gets you to the next phase in your life, right? So, yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, Sanusi. It was really nice having you on the podcast.
really appreciate
We'll
it.
definitely see you
Really
next
appreciate it.
time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.